Hey guys, so today we have top 4 ARG IQ deck profiles. I'm just going to start with mine, and we have 2 others. One has chosen not to do one, that's all good by them. So to start off, I played Thunder Dragons today, and I won the top 8 ARG Circuit Series mat. This shit's nice. Let me just get a good picture of this.
Try to scan it because I can't get it all. Top 8. Congrats to your top 8.
Thank you. And I played Thunder Dragons Pure. So today I played triple Thunder Dragon Roar, triple Thunder Dragon Dark, triple Thunder Dragon Hawk, triple Thunder Dragon, OG, triple Matrix. So it's just like the main engine of your deck. Everything's with 3 of in this build. I know in some builds people only play 1 or 2 or 2 and 3. Some builds only play Matrix. But Pure, I just really like it. Everything being 3 ofs. This guy is actually really good in Pure because you can chain block with him when you link 2 with it. I really liked it. OG is just a good guy because you can use fusion with it. It's everything here. These, love it. And then 3 solar because we don't actually play pure Thunder Dragons. We're playing battery man Thunder Dragons, of course. This guy's just walking Foolish Burial that nets you a token when you summon a Thunder monster. Standard by any build. 1 duo. I was on the fence about him until like I actually read him for the first time. Really good. If you destroy something by battle, you get to add a Thunder from your deck to your hand just by banishing whatever out of your grave. Big body. I actually was playing DLS before, and then I decided, oh wait, this is better. 3 Phantasme. This card was so good today. At first I was like, oh, I'm just going to use it as like a flex. But then I actually main decked it and it was insane. This card was so good today.
The card's actually insane.
Every time I saw it, it was nice.
All the memes.
I never had to side it out or anything. Double Ash.
Really? That's
yeah, I was playing it at 3 before, but then I started bricking on the 3rd one a lot, where I'd open 2 of them. You really just want to see 1, and you're also playing a lot of other hand traps already, so it's fine just like cut him down, or cut her.
Did you just assume it's gender?
Yeah.
Okay, fair
So for the spells, 3 instant fusion. Now get to the targets later. There's 2 of them. They're really obvious. One's ultra, the others are supers. My whole deck's like mixed rarities. Like you probably noticed the Thunder Dragons are like 2 supers, 1 ultra. Double Desires. This card's really interesting in this deck. If you get your full combo, you actually can hold on to this card because you just don't want to banish resources at that point. But if you brick, that's when you want to use this. To just like unbrick your hand. I had a hand, like I believe it's 2 hands in this whole tournament where Desires just unbricked my entire hand, and I was able to win from there. 3 Allure of Darkness.
That's really good, yeah.
Just really standard pure. You can banish your Roar, your Dark, and just kind of help go off from there.
Excuse me.
Triple Called by the Grave. This card is also insane. If you open it, it's just a back row. If your opponent doesn't have a hand trap, and then if they go first, you can banish like their Ray, or you can banish one of their Thunder Dragons. The card is just absolutely incredible right now. 2 fusions. I was playing 3 at first, but I decided to just cut it back so I can get the called buys in here. This card's just live almost all the time. It's insane. 1 Sarcophagus, very standard. Best rarity is Platinum rare. And 2 Impermanents.
Nice.
Some builds are playing Ogre. I feel Impermanents, so it's better. And then for the side deck, actually we'll do the extra deck first. 3 Titan. Titan's just correct at 3. Some builds play. It's correct.
Here we go.
And then 3 Colossus.
The activation of Thunder Dragon Titan is correct.
Yeah. These are just good 3 ofs. Some people play 2. Some people don't play it at all. Titan's insane. Fusion's insane. Then like instant fusion targets, Kaminari and Restrict. Pretty obvious.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping it fair.
Yeah. We had a
drama today, which was good.
yeah, we had a really great judge today.
And then I ruined it, you fat bastard.
And then some Summer Summoner. Some builds play this at 1. Yeah, Team Toxic. Gang gang.
Sorry.
Some builds play this at 1, or some builds play this at 2. I'm playing at 1 because I'm also playing Beat Cop.
That card's not real, is it?
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
this is just really good
interesting.
because it's any 2 monsters.
I've never actually seen this.
I might take it out for Second Summer. It was just, when I made it, it was okay, but I feel like I should have just played Second Summer.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was a neat little tech just to try.
Yeah.
And then for my like big kill boys, we have the Boral Load, the Boral Sword. Never made him once today, and we just won the game. A Link Karibo. So even if you brick, you can get rid of your Matrix, search a card, and hopefully like Hawk get Matrix. And then 2 Nightmares, Unicorn and Phoenix, of course. Just both pretty standard good boys, and a token.
Nice. Battery
Man Solar token.
Yo, that's actually sick.
Yeah, I ordered it on eBay. I can't remember the guy's name.
I'm just wondering why he went negative on the filter.
Oh, I did that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then for my side deck, Mixed Rarity Twin Twisters.
Nice. One should be common, the other one ultra, the other one secret.
I might do that with Thunder Dragon. And then this just like blows up back row against Salamangreat Strikers. Good card. Relancia.
Yep.
I sided it once, it wasn't that great. But against Danger, like Danger build would be nice, but I didn't play.
Do you lose the evenly match is the thing? That might come in.
Yeah, I don't really side in evenly matched. I'm not too concerned. Like if you get evenly matched, get evenly matched. Like no one's arguing about that. 2 Reboot and 1 Denko Sekka.
Yeah.
The reasoning behind this is you don't want to play multiple Sekkos because you don't want to open them. You just want to kind of like search it off your fusion or open the one of, and then Reboot's just a hand trap. So this card's arguably more easier to use, while this card's more of a blowout. Triple Sphere, sided this every game almost and didn't even see it. Card's insane still, just any combo deck dies to it. And finally, the obvious choice, 3 evenly matched.
Yeah.
You see this card, it's nuts. And that's my Thunder Dragon deck list for top 4. And now we're just going to go on to our other top 4 players. Yep.
Any shoutouts?
Shoutouts to East Coast Gamers. This event went insanely well.
ARG,
of course.
Yeah.
Great Matt.
Great Matt.
Midnight Dreams. Let's find their signature on here.
Oh, the signature's right here.
Midnight Dreams.
Yep, Midnight Dreams. Shout out to you.
Awesome artwork. And that's my Thunder Dragon deck profile.
All right, thank you very much. Team
Thank
Toxic
you.
out.
Team Toxic out. Fun. All right, so next in top 4, we got Steve. What did we do today, Steve?
Got top 4 at a small ARG event with Sky Strikers.
Nice. Let's see what kind of Sky Strikers we got in there.
All right, it's I feel like this is a fairly standard lineup, but I'll do my best to explain everything. So starting off, you got 3 Ray. If you know anything about Sky Striker, you know what this card does. I shouldn't have to explain it. It's kind of the heart and soul of the deck. You don't want to be without it. If you don't see it, you're not playing the game. So you need 3, and you got to try to protect her. So hand trap lineup, I ran 12 hand traps because I just like to say no as often as I can.
Definitely, especially Sky Strikers.
So yeah, so in the standard we got, your 3 Ash Blossom. It's just great this format, negates like 1,000 different things. Kind of want to keep her. Then we got 2 Ogre. Ogres are actually really awesome this format. In the mirror, you want to hit their multi-rolls so that they're not recurring stuff. Against something like Salamangreats, if they go to summon a debug, they use that effect. If you drop Ogre on them, they lose their debug and they literally can't do anything at that point.
They lose their turn.
Yeah. The amount of times I've seen someone try to summon a Gazelle after losing a debug, I'm like, yeah, no, debug's not a Salamangreat. It doesn't work that way. And they just end up, passing and that's it for them. So it buys you another turn.
Right.
2 Ghost Bell in Haunted Mansion. So Ghost Bell serves 2 purposes. The first one is to try to control the opponent's graveyard as much as possible, because there's a lot more graveyard manipulation in this format between the Salamangreats, between Danger Orcus, even Danger Thunder Dragon to an extent. They kind of fish out of their graveyard.
Right.
And this card hits like a lot of weird stuff that people don't expect, like even something like Thunder Fusion, because they're going to move stuff from their graveyard back into the deck. This kind of like shuts it down. The other reason I like playing it is because once someone realizes you're playing Sky Striker, they think it's really cute to start banishing Ray out of the graveyard with DD Crow, Call by the Grave, stuff like that. So the Ghost Bell protects Ray from getting banished in any way, at least while it's in the graveyard, so that at least you're not losing a Ray. Because if you lose Ray, you got a problem. It just slows the deck down so much, not being able to get her out of the grave, be able to like get your resources recurring. So you want to protect her. Ghost Bell helps out with that.
Yeah,
That's why
Ghost Bell can be pretty devastating.
Oh yeah, so that's why I decided to run her. And then 2 DD Crow.
All right.
At one point, these were effect failures, but I felt the deck already had a really strong like effect negation on the field. So this kind of goes in line with Ghost Bell as far as the graveyard manipulation. So many like decks, like I mentioned, like they're trying to get stuff out of the grave. Obviously, in the mirror, you can hit your opponent's Ray if they're not prepared for it. Against Salamangreats, they try to get their Spinny out of the grave or their Foxy, or since it hits any card, when they try to use Sunlight Wolf to grab like their counter trap, you can snipe that if you want to.
You could even hit their Bailing so they can't protect their stuff too.
Exactly. You can knock out the
solid.
you knock out the Bailings out of the grave. Against Orcust, you can start knocking out some of their combo pieces. It's not the best in the Thunder Dragon matchup as far as I've seen, because a lot of them get their effects like off the banishing, but it's still pretty solid in almost every other matchup. And then the last hand trap, 3 Infinite Impermanence. Card's just great. Basically, it does everything that Valor can't do. It's great seeing in the opening turn. It's obviously not a hard once per turn, which is great. Even the psychology in it, being able to set it and then being able to take something out of like your opponent's spell and trap zone when it's activated. A lot of them don't see that coming. If they activate something in the same column, they're kind of screwed. So it's served me pretty well. There's very few matchups where it's not desirable. So I've never had too much of an issue. And then onto the spells. We got 3 Engage. Until they limit or semi-limit this, you want to run 3. There's no reason not to. It's never a brick, unless your opponent's got like a bunch of Colossus or something, then that kind of sucks. 3 Widow Anchor. This card put in so much work today.
Definitely.
The effect negation's obviously great. The Snatch Steal, just being able to steal stuff. Against Thunder Dragons, being able to take their Colossus and just like, even just having the ability to search stuff after that or just negating stuff, it's just such a good card. This is pretty much what makes Sky Strikers like as dangerous as they are. Aside from the recursion, this is what gives them like their teeth to actually do stuff. So then we got 3 Multi-Roll. This card almost always got Ghost Ogred every time I played it today. Everyone was, everyone who played today was pretty well prepared for what this deck does, and they knew don't let the multi-roll resolve.
Right, definitely great players today.
Oh yeah, but when it does resolve, oh man, you're recurring your Widow Anchors, you're fishing your Engages out. Like it's just a non-stop resource machine. And plus, making everything a spell speed 4, like a super poly, like it's just great. Like that's a very underrated effect that not a lot of people realize.
Yeah, it can go unexpected too.
Yeah, and even like it's just great for like you say like you Widow Anchor something off your opponent's field, you can send it off of like multi-roll, and just like then it's like a non-issue at that point.
Right.
So same with these guys. I run 2 Area Zeros. I've seen some builds running 3. I can't really understand why, because if you open more than one of this, it's like the worst hand ever. But I do like running into 2. I feel like you really just only want to see it one time and then never again. You mainly want to open with this guy and multi-roll just to get your Ray out of the deck and then just start comboing off there.
Nice cards to open.
Oh
Just
yeah.
a 2-card combo right there.
Yeah, so I feel the 2 is good, plus there's the terraforming in there too, so it's basically like 4 copies. When I was running 3, I sided the 3rd one out all the time, so I'm like, I think I can cut this guy. And then the 1-ofs, we got Afterburners, Jamming Waves, Shark Cannon, Eagle Booster, and Hornet Drones. So the Hornet Drones, obviously mandatory. It's a great card. If you don't open with Ray, you at least want to see Hornet Drones so you can start playing. Eagle Booster, normally I run it at 2. I decided to run it at 1 just to see how it would go. I'll probably go back to 2. One of the nice things with this is being able to make sure your Shizuku kind of like doesn't get negated, because a lot of times they'll ash that and they'll try to like shut down some of your resource plays. Another thing this is great for is protecting your Sky Striker links from something that's not a destructive effect or like that takes it to their field, like a mind control or like something like that. So this could be really nifty. A lot of times I would try to at least search this off of Shizuku and then activate it. If multi-roll was on the field, search it with the Shizuku, then activate it, and then set it with the multi-roll so that I could protect it. Yeah, especially if I knew my opponent was playing like a mind control or like some weird thing like that.
Card definitely has great utility.
Oh yeah. It's got some. It's nifty against like the opponent's like plays too. If they try to go like with their Time Thief Redoer into like, they try to use like their rank up thing. You just chain it to that, and their Time Thief's unaffected by stuff, so they can't rank. They can't
Oh
target
wow,
it.
that's a neat idea.
Yeah,
I didn't
so
even think about that.
yeah, I've seen a couple people do it. It's another reason why I might bump it to 2. This guy with the Shark Cannon would also be great at 2. This goes in the same line of like DD Crow and Bell, where like graveyard manipulation is so important in this format. So being able to take out like anything that your opponent might try to recur and say like the Salamangreat matchup. I mentioned that because that's like the most popular match right now. But like,
Definitely, there's a lot running around.
oh yeah, being able to take out a Baneling so they can't protect anything, taking out, you know, a Spinny or a Gazelle before they fish it out. This is one I might side a second copy going forward, just because it's that good. And then the best utility in my opinion is still taking like your opponent's Link 2s and having extra Link material to go into like Boral Sword or Topologic. And then Afterburners is just, it's great. If you resolve that when you get 3 spells, you're plussing so hard off of it. Jamming Waves is a little more niche. This is more, it's more so for like the back row strategies that I might see, and also like at worst, at one point this was actually the 3rd Area 0, but I was seeing this guy so much, I'm like, well, if I see this, at least if I have this guy set, I can just Jamming Wave it and at least get a Ray. It's not the best play, but it lets you like still play the game.
Right.
And it's got some utilities. The fact that it doesn't target the monster that's destroyed is kind of cool. So like if you target your opponent's Bone Trap, pop that, Jamming Wave just destroys the monster on the field. It's great stuff. It's anything that's got like the targeting protection, Jamming Wave doesn't care about.
Definitely, it's pretty solid.
So then on more generic stuff, the 2 Terraforming and the Rhoda. So you can get your one and only warrior monster that you have in the deck. 2 Pot of Desires. I was really against this card. I saw a lot of people playing it. I hated the idea of banishing resources, but when you get to the side deck, you start to see some stuff that you really want to see like as soon as possible. So ideally, your best setup is being able to resolve like an engage, being able to resolve like, get like a generic board setup where you have like your multi-roll, you get like a Widow Anchor, and then once you resolve that stuff and get a Ray in the grave, then activate Desires and start fishing for your hand traps. I've seen some people try to use it as like ash bait, and I get that, but a lot of times you just want this to resolve. You want to get your 2, you want to get your 2 cards in your hand and kind of go from there. So it's pretty nice. I was running the Foolish Burial Goods and Metal Foes engine for a while, but I was starting to brick too much with that. So I was like, let me try something a little different, and this worked out pretty well. And then the last 4, 2 Twin Twister and 2 Shared Ride.
Oh, nice.
A lot of times I like to run either 3 Twin Twister or 3 Shared Ride and then side the other one. I felt that it would be better just to have both of them because you end up drawing so much with the Engages and the Pot of Desires. Like, you get a little more variety now if you can get a Twin Twisters and a Shared Ride. A Shared Ride is just great against so many. It really just adds like another level of psychology. It's like Max C, but not as broken as Max C, but it's still good. Again, something like Invoked, they're going to activate their Meltdown. You're going to draw a card off of that. They activate their Alistair, you're going to draw a card off of that. If they're using their Mech Knight stuff, you're going to draw cards when they do that. Salamangreats, you can draw cards. Even when they add stuff from the graveyard, you can draw cards.
Right.
Yeah, you can draw cards from that. So it's just very good. Another way to fish out hand traps and your other like Widow Anchors and everything. And then Twisters, because people still like play back row. You really don't want to lose to an anti-spell or like one of those like really annoying floodgates. So I always want to have like some kind of an out in my deck.
Definitely.
For those guys. So then we'll go to the extra deck. Probably our best bet.
Sounds good.
Yeah, nice solid 15 card extra deck. So we got the 3 Kagari. It's another one. Until they decide to hit it to 1 or ban it, you want to run 3. It's kind of the heart and soul of like your recursion strategy. Then 3 Shizuku, another strong card to end with, more from the defensive side, but like getting to fish something out of the end phase is pretty good. Then 2 Hayate, and then 1 Kana. I'd almost rather run a second Kana, like 2 and 2, because this card can actually really save you in a lot of matchups, because generally, like, when they, like, if you get a Shizuku, they pop the Shizuku, then you get the Ray. Usually, like, you'll either go into Kagari to grab something, or if you're, like, if they're really facing down, like, a big monster, you can drop Kana and kind of just stop them from attacking. And then you still keep a Sky Striker Link on the board, so you can go on next turn, assuming their board isn't, like, super broken. And Hayate is actually pretty awesome. Even if you summon it during your opponent's battle phase, they go to run it over. You can send like a Sky Striker card to the graveyard and then be able to fish it out next turn with Kagari. I actually did that against the Thunder Dragon player. I pretty much had the Ray on the board, activated Ray's effect, went into Hayate. They attacked into it. I triggered Hayate's effect, sent a Widow Anchor, and then that ended up being my third Widow Anchor because I had 2 others in my hand.
Right.
And
really makes them wonder like if they want to attack or not once they know what Hayate does.
Exactly. It kind of adds another level of psychology. A lot of this deck is just one ginormous like mind game a lot of times.
Definitely.
So, but this ratio worked out pretty well. 9 Sky Striker aces. And then the rest of the extra deck, you got Boral Sword, your OTK guy. If you can get this guy on the board with like Widow Anchoring your stuff, your opponent's stuff, or the Shark Cannon, you should be able to win if you can resolve it. Then Topologic Bomber Dragon. This card was actually really awesome to end with if you could pull it off. We also had Ningirsu, Nightmare Phoenix, and the Fire Charmer. So all these pretty much like probably one of the coolest things you could do with the Fire Charmer over here. If your opponent made a Nightmare Phoenix, or even if they use like an Ash Blossom, that's giving you another link material as soon as you summon this guy. Because you just summon it, activate the effect, grab something out of their graveyard. If you got a Shark Cannon and you can get something out of their graveyard from that, now you've got 2 more materials, so you can go into your Boral Sword or your, like, here's your Boral Sword. You can go into that. My favorite, though, is taking the opponent's Nightmare Phoenix or, like, their Sunlight Wolf and then going into Bomber Dragon. Salamangreats really have a hard time with this card because they're going to go into their Banelings or they'll want to go into their Sunlight Wolf, and then
Oh, for sure.
whatever they need to put stuff under the Sunlight Wolf in order to get like the effect, and then that's going to trigger Bomber Dragon to just wipe their board.
Definitely, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, Ningirsu is just great for taking out anything that can't be targeted or anything that can't be destroyed. A lot of times I started running this guy because I would be ending on Ningirsu and realizing that was just a terrible end board. So then if you get at least 1 more material, you can go into Topologic and end with that guy instead. And then Phoenix is just great utility. It's an awesome link too. And then the last extra deck is Violet Chimera.
Ooh.
And this is in there for the side deck, which we're about to go into right now.
So you said that you wanted to play 2 Kaina. What would you cut for the second Kaina?
Probably this guy.
That guy?
This would probably go into the side deck because I have another because I do run Super Poly in the side deck, and I have another Super Poly target as well. But this guy would probably go in there, and I would cut something from the side deck in order to have the second Kaina.
Makes sense.
So because everything else serves a pretty good utility, this guy is really just in there mainly just to reduce how much I'm manipulating the side deck in between games.
Right.
So then side deck, we got 3 Lancia. The Orcus deck that's coming up really cannot play when Lancia resolves. They absolutely cannot do a damn thing because they got to banish their Orcus in order to get stuff. So you chain this on them, like their turn's over at that point. It's got some decent uses against Thunder Dragons. The Dino matchup, that's another one that likes to banish a lot. To an extent, you could, if you suspect your opponent's going to like play evenly against you, you could side this in, but it's kind of a gamble, but it's an option. So it's a nifty card right now, and when it resolves against certain decks, it just shuts them down. 2 Pankratops. It's another card that a lot of decks like kind of struggle with. My favorite thing about Pankratops is it forces your opponent to respond to it. The second it hits the field, they need to deal with it. Against Salamangreats, first of all, they have a hard time putting anything that's going to be able to deal with like the attack thing. So you can attack into their Sunlight Wolf. They're going to have to use their Banelings, and then when you go to activate Pankratops effect, they either have to use their counter trap or they're going to lose a card. So it requires an answer. It's the same with a lot of decks. Your opponent has to deal with it. Trickstars can't really do a whole lot against this guy because they can't really put up a big muscle. But it's a good out to a lot of floodgates too. Like if your opponent puts up Rivalry or goes in, or even like Anti-Spell or Imperial Order, you just drop this guy, take care of the problem, and then just go from there. Then 1 extra Twin Twister, mainly in case I deal with like a back row heavy deck like Draca or Altergeist or whatever else. Even the Mirror Match, Twin Twister is pretty good. And then the other 2 Spice Techs, Super Poly, Infusion of Fire.
Pretty good.
And then the last of the Super Poly targets that I run is Protoplant Dragoplastia. Rodriga. I don't know how do you pronounce that guy, but it's there.
Fusion and a dark.
This should be a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, but this works out pretty well against the Thunder Dragon matchup because their big guy Colossus is a Dark Fusion. So if you can Super Poly and take their Colossus off the board and drop your own big guy, it's pretty solid. And then Fusion of Fire is there for the Salamangreat match. So these two go in there, usually like going second against them. And that's where this one in the extra deck came into play.
Sounds good.
Because you just, basically like Fusion of Fire, you can use stuff from their field. So you just use all their stuff. And same with Super Poly. I like the Super Poly because I can side that in against the Thunder Dragon. That's why it's not 2 Fusion of Fire. I feel like 1-1 is perfectly fine. Never really came up today, but it's my theory on that.
That's pretty solid still.
And then the last 6 side decks, we got evenly matched. Pretty much against all the back row heavy stuff, against Sky Strikers, against anyone putting up a big board. Ideally, you bait out like 1 or 2 negates with like your regular stuff and then just wipe their board with evenly matched. And a lot of decks have a hard time responding with this.
Right, once it's evenly matched, it's over.
Pretty much. And then the last one, the card that just messes up everything in this format, Summon Limit.
Ooh, nice.
So this is a floodgate that Sky Strikers really could care less about because realistically, you're only going to summon like 2 times in your turn anyway. Every other deck has aside from like maybe like Subterror and Altergeist, like they have a problem with this guy. And True Draco, they don't care either. But every other like meta heavy deck this format is going to struggle when this goes up. Thunder Dragons, if they drop like their Battery Man and then maybe special summon some other guy, you drop Summon Limit on them, their turn's basically over. Salamangreats, even if they get Lady Debug off and then go into their Banelings, you drop that guy, their turn's over and they're stuck with a Link 1.
And the cool thing about Summon Limit is that it just counts every summon before it even goes on the board. So you can have it set, they get their second summon, and you just flip it, now their turn's done.
Yeah, they I feel like they should have ratted that or try to like clarify because that part's broken. But until they do some of that, we're gonna keep running this guy. So just right now, it hurts so much in the meta. The Orcus deck, because that's gonna be a big thing. This is another one they have a really difficult time with. Because ideally, like they'll want to go into like their Cerberus or they'll waste like one of their Link 2s and go right into Nightmare Mermaid and then you flip that on them and it's like, oh shoot, what do I do? Or even like if they use their, because they have to get 2 monsters on the board to even start linking off. So as soon as they get their second monster, which will probably be like some useless danger or something, you just flip that and their turn ends and they can't do anything.
Pretty solid.
So it's kind of my way of keeping the crazy meta decks in check.
Nice.
So yeah, that is it. As far as stuff I would change, again, I would probably be putting Violet Chimera into like the side deck for the other Kana. This guy, here we'll do that. This guy should be a Supreme King Starving Venom because it's just 2 dark monsters for or not Supreme King, for the regular Starving Venom.
Right.
It's just a lot more versatile in that respect. As far as the main deck goes, I could consider running Veilers, but I feel like the deck it was pretty solid. My only real losses today were more just having like very weak openings and my opponent just opening everything that they needed to against me. Which is good. Yeah, it's the nature of the game. You just kind of got to roll with it. But I felt like I played pretty well today. Got myself a top 4.
Yeah, sounds good. Any shout-outs?
Shout-outs to Nova Games in the Brick Freehold area. All the boys that I play with over there, Team Toxic, everyone I've been playing with the last like couple years. You guys are awesome, giving me great games. Nerdvana down in Egg Harbor Township, great guys down there. Shout out to ECG for hosting the event. You guys are great. It's a really awesome place to come down to. ARG for supplying us with these awesome mats.
Really good mat.
Yeah, this is actually the first mat that I've ever won, the first anything that I've won in my 11 years of playing. So, and this is it's pretty sweet. It's pretty solid.
So next up, we're gonna have the first place deck profile from our ARG. So let's get that set up. So now we have first place, Robert Kramer. And what did you do today?
I won a ARG Invitational Qualifier with Pure Thunder Dragon.
Awesome. So let's see this deck profile.
So to start, I have 2 Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is not as good of a card as it used to be. I'd honestly consider playing another hand trap over it, but right now it's just too good against Striker, and if they somehow manage to not chain block their Saryuja in the danger build of this deck. Next you have 3 Battery Man Solar. This is one of the best cards in the deck. It starts all of your combos. It can send the cards that you need in grave. And it also makes a token which helps make a triple Colossus opening board with summoners. Then you have 3 Phantasme. Whenever I opened this card, I seemed to win that game. Except one game against Mark where I saw all 3 of them.
Yikes.
This card is great if you don't see more than one of it. This card auto wins against Salamangreat. It does a lot against Striker. All around, it's just a very solid card, and I'm super happy I main decked this card instead of side decking it like I thought about doing. Then there's Ghost Ogre. I think Ghost Ogre is actually one of the better hand traps in this format. Multi-roll, fuck that card. Debug, fuck that card. Most of the Salamangreat deck, fuck that card. This card just actually wins games, and I don't know why people aren't main decking this right now. And some decks aren't even side decking it. Then you have 3 Thunder Dragon. This is basically your win con with Titan. This card's insane, and it can search 1 copy of itself. It can search 2 copies of itself. It's just an overall solid card. Plus, it has interaction of Thunder Dragon Fusion to keep searching itself. If you put them back into deck, you're basically always going to get them back.
Right.
Then you have the dark version of Thunder Dragon Dark.
Oh,
So
would have guessed.
you can discard this as a quick effect to search a copy of itself. This card is great because if you end on a Titan, you can just start blowing things up on your opponent's turn, and it's actually really disruptive. I found out that having this in hand against Salamangreat when you have a Titan on board basically just wins you the game.
Oh, nice.
Then I have 1 Thunder Dragon Duo. I know Mark said this in his deck profile. He was a little on the fence about it. I think this card is absolutely fantastic. I think it's better than BLS. I think it's probably better than the Baby Chaos Dragons in the pure build. But you never really want to see more than 1 because you can summon it or search it off of just about anything in your deck. Plus, you can actually just revive it with Dragonhawk. So, on top of it being a Thunder and being able to make all your fusions, it's also able to be brought back. It's also to be added back to your hand. You can search it off Dragon Dark. You can search it off Thunder Dragon Fusion. It's just an all-around great utility card that's going to banish and get you your effects from grave. So then you have Dragonhawk. I almost never used the effect of Dragonhawk to take a mulligan. You almost always use Dragonhawk to discard a card to special summon to turn something right into a fusion. Then you have the Egg. I think the Egg is really good. I generally didn't like the Egg in the Danger build of this deck, but I feel like in the Pure build, it's kind of a staple because the Pure build revolves around making that Titan and protecting it as long as you can. It's also really good against decks that make really big things when you have a Colossus on board. Earlier today, somebody impermanenced my Colossus, then summoned a Pankratops to try to swing into it to kill it in battle. And I just went damage step, drop a matrix, and then they died the next turn.
Pretty good.
Yeah, the Egg gets there.
It does.
Then you have the Dragon Roars. This is generally the card that you want to Gold Sark, generally the card you want to Allure, generally the card that you want to send to grave to make your first Colossus. This card's insane. This card just tutors anything in your deck and puts it onto the field. Allure of Darkness. It's Pot of Greed that occasionally summons something, that occasionally has a Rhoda attached to it, that occasionally unbricks your Phantasmes. Card's just insane. Called by the Grave. Fuck Ray. That's the only answer I have for that. Gold Sark. Dragon Roar, Dragon Dark. It just starts all your combos. In very desperate situations, you can Gold Sark a Dragonhawk to get a mulligan. It's really not good, but you have to do it sometimes. Instant Fusion. Card's insane. You use Instant Fusion to make Thousand Eyes Restrict. You use it to make Kaminari Attack, which is a 1-card Titan. You can also use it to start all your combos in case you don't open Solar, or if you open Solar and this card, it's an OTK.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Pot of Desires. I am always on the fence about this card. Like, against Mark, I Pot of Desired 3 Dragonhawks on the first one I activated, and then my second one got ashed. You generally don't want to resolve more than one, and you're in a pretty desperate situation if you need to resolve a second one. But the card's just overall solid, and it's going to unbrick your hand when you need to unbrick it. It's going to stop you from just having dead hands. And this deck is notorious for bricking.
Definitely.
and then 2 Thunder Dragon Fusion. I don't think I resolved one to actually fusion summon all day, but this card is ridiculous if you can put it into grave somehow and then just banish it for a search.
Yeah, it's really nice to open like it with Phantasmags, and you're just set if they try to do anything.
It's Rhoda attached to a Poly, attached to Thunder Dragon, searching you 2 more cards.
Pretty good.
So now we're going to move on to the extra deck. I have Thousand Eyes Restrict. It's just kind of a staple with Instant Fusion. The card's really good, does a lot of really good things. It also baits hand traps. So something I noticed when I was playing this deck online a lot is the first thing I would do is I would just go Instant Fusion of Thousand Eyes Restrict, try and suck up their monster, and then this would get negated instead of any of my other plays.
Right, they have to respond to Restrict almost
They
every time.
have to stop Restrict. Then you have Kaminari Attack. Like I explained, this is a Thunder monster. It's the only reason you play it. It's a 1-card Titan. Then you have 3 Colossus. It's Mistake on legs. The card's just strong. The False Electro Noodle Prophet. And then you have 3 Titan. A lot of people don't play Titan at all or play Titan at 1 or 2. I think Titan is better than Colossus in most situations. It both claim, but this card is generally better to end on than Colossus against a lot of decks. A lot of people just make Colossus because Mistake is a good card.
Right.
Then you have Linkuriboh. Your egg turns into Linkuriboh, and then if you have a Hawk, you can turn it into a Colossus under Linkuriboh. It's actually how I won my match in the finals against Zero, playing Trains. I opened 2 Dragon Matrix, a Dragon Hawk, and 2 other random cards. And I just made Linkuriboh Colossus pass with 3 Thunders engraved, so Lieb couldn't kill me that turn. You have Phoenix. I didn't make this all day, but it's really good against back row decks. Summoner turns into Colossus. Doesn't have an effect. Doesn't matter. Unicorn, again, didn't make it all day, but it's good for moving things off the board. Borreload, didn't make it all day. It's good for taking away your opponent's things. I think everybody knows what Borreload does by this point. And then we have the 2 cards that kind of separate this from the other Thunder deck that you're going to see Mark playing. I play 1 Violet Chimera and 1 Predaplant. I can't pronounce that.
Dragostapelia?
Yeah.
Dragostapelia?
So the reason I play these is because I have an Instant Fusion Super Poly in my side deck, and Super Poly is absolutely insane in this deck because Super Poly plus Solar or Instant Fusion is again an OTK.
Right.
So I was playing against Mark on Friday, and he didn't know I had Super Poly in my side deck, so he ends on 2 Colossus pass. So I end up just sucking up both of his Colossus into this and then OTK'd. That card's just insane. So then we'll move into the side deck. Freelancia. Though I didn't play against any Danger Thunder today, so the card was useless, never got sided in.
Right.
Ash Blossom, I already talked about that. Ghost Ogre, easily one of the best hand traps in the format, does a lot of really strong things. Super Poly, it's to make these 2. Also a really funny thing you can do is you can make Titan against another Thunder Dragon player by sucking up 3 Colossus. It's really strong. 3 Twin Twister, beats Draco, hurts Striker, beats Salamangreat. Card's just good. Evenly matched, never sided it in. Most of my matches were 2-0s. I won every die roll today. I got really lucky, but
Pretty good.
I never actually ran into a situation where I needed to play this. And then 3 Rivalry of the Warlord. You want to play Summon Limit, but Summon Limit hurts you too much, so you have to play the card that's not as good. This card was useless today. I didn't play against any Orcus. I didn't play against anything that played more than 1 type. My matchups today were 3 Salamangreat, a Thunder Dragon, a Train deck, and Strikers. Striker, this card does a little bit against, but I wasn't going first, so there was really no reason for me to side this.
Right. So that's the other Thunder Dragon deck profile, and he got first. He has champion that there. And what else did you get? What's this guy here?
So that's a kind of like a top loader. It's a magnet protection case. It's almost like what they give you the prize cards in.
Right.
RTS prize cards.
then there's the pin,
The egg pin.
and ARG invite. So any shout outs?
Shout out to East Coast Gamers, where we are currently. You guys ran an awesome event, and I look forward to playing here more in the future. Shout out to Team Toxic. Shout out to Connor, who couldn't be here today. Shout out to Steve, who I played in top 4. Shout out to Ciro, who I played in top 2. Shout out to Nova Games and Trader Legion Games, the other 2 local stores around here. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, peace out.